Our meaningful metrics this evening are all around hurling. We're going to be talking about particularly Kilkenny's dominance of the Leinster Championship under Brian Cody. Meaningful metrics here on Off the Ball in partnership with Whoop, the personalised digital fitness and health coach that helps you unlock your inner potential. You can check out whoop.com for more information. Now, Mick and Arthur are with us to have a look at Kilkenny's dominance. You've been crunching the numbers though, Arthur. You wouldn't tell me a single one before we come on air. I was like, well, what are we going to be talking about? What are the numbers here? You have to wait till 8:30.
Yeah, look, and a lot of this meaningful metrics so far has kind of been almost working off predictions.
Sometimes,
see what happens. See what happens. We're just going to bask in some greatness. We're just going to look back and just see what it actually, the dominance. Everyone knows Kilkenny have been dominant. Looking specifically within kind of the Leinster Championship, everyone knows it. But looking back,
I kind of enjoyed the 6 years where they haven't lifted Lee McCarthy.
But yeah. But the frightening dominance, the frightening nature of it. Like, for instance, right, I feel I did ask you this, so you may have feigned that you don't know, but between playing and managing, how many Leinster Championships do you think Brian Cody's won?
I was one out when I said this earlier.
Yeah.
So it's 21. I thought it was 20.
So 21, the same amount as Wexford.
Same amount as many of years that many people playing in this year's Leinster Championship have been alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a staggering benchmark to go right there. That's what we're starting off. So 21 Leinster Championships. I'm wondering how many times you have seen Kilkenny in the Leinster Championship under Cody.
You're the one with the metrics.
I've definitely watched
the numbers, but I want to just get a.
Definitely watched them in all the years that they've won these 16 titles, or 17 titles even that Cody has picked up as a manager. And yeah, it just feels like that period from 98 on, Kilkenny took complete dominance of the province. If you think about it, they had all the rivalries, even at an All-Ireland level, pretty much for the decade that followed. So Cork and Kilkenny were the dominant rivalry. Then when Cork disappeared a little bit, it became the great Kilkenny team of the late 2000s versus Tipperary. Then even when, after that magic final in 2014, when you wondered where Kilkenny almost dust because it felt like those players had come to an end, Kilkenny still got an All-Ireland Championship in 2016, and even since then at a Leinster level they've still been the best team. Like, you remember Wexford in 2019 because it's so rare that Kilkenny aren't going up the steps. I then think of Galway should have won a final behind COVID when they were ahead, and then Richie Hogan comes on and scores and Kilkenny win, and now Kilkenny are going for 3 in a row again this season. And I've no doubt they're going to be competing quite strongly in the Leinster final to try and win that 3 in a row. It's just crazy how much they've won from 98 till now.
And it's very interesting, even looking back on it today and looking back at some of the videos, like how it is, as you're saying, like it's very much. So Cody's first year, I think, is 99. So they're coming off. I think he plays in the Leinster final that year. The first one they win, he wins as manager. They're playing All Ireland winners Offaly. Yeah. Which in itself at the time, it was very rarely happen. But because I think they'd already won the Leinster Championship the year before. They'd
won 98, so they won Leinster and Offaly won the All Ireland.
So you had the whole, which was an odd sort of dynamic. I think that.
Second time it happened.
Second team to win through the qualifiers, I think. So.
Yeah. So I was looking through it. So from his time, so from 99, obviously for most of that, they basically play 2 games a year and they're gone, or it's 2 games and Leinster's over for them. How many times do you think they played Offaly? Since 1999.
Championship.
Leinster Championship only.
There's a few years where Offaly been away from the Leinster Championship, unfortunately, but I'm thinking 99-2000 because they met in the All Ireland final. Let's see, probably 2, 3, not 4, because they were beaten by Wexford that year. So take that one away. So hold on, I'm going 99.
You don't have to go through it all.
You don't have to go through it all, right? So we'll give you a rough guess here.
Just give me a guess.
Probably about maybe 10 times, maybe?
10 times on the money.
That's pretty good.
There we go.
Bringing the knowledge.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of this before coming on air, by the way, in case anyone's going to accuse me of that.
Yeah.
What didn't help is the fact that Offaly disappeared from Leinster for a while, but go on.
True enough. How many of them have Kilkenny won? You know, you're right.
I think all 10.
10 from 10. Do you know the combined score?
Oh no, I really don't. I just know Offaly haven't beaten Kilkenny in Championship since the 98 final.
I don't know these stats either, but I presume it gets less mean to Will after this, does it?
Yes, it's a horrible way to start. We have just gone, Kilkenny, they've had great rivalries with Galway. We could have started with that, couldn't we? No. Here we are. They've put 700 points past Offaly. Go on.
I'm just staggered by it.
In 10 games,
In 10 games. It's 28 goals, 232 points. To 10 goals, 141 points. Like nearly 3 times as many goals. a fair few less points.
Here's the scary part. I can only remember 2 games that felt in any way competitive in that period between the 2 counties. And that would have been 99, and there was a year in Tullamore where Offaly got a bang load of goals and it looked like they might push them close because of that. It was the day Joe Bergen played really, really well on a hot sunny day. Outside of that, Kilkenny have ripped them apart. I remember the first game on Sky Sports where Kilkenny ripped Offaly to shreds. What a way to introduce the audience in the UK to hurling.
So what age were you now in
Stadium? It was,
What age were you in 98?
Would have been 11.
So you got to enjoy that.
Oh yeah, oh man.
Like, I presume it's a similar thing for fans. Well, you're also a fan of Leinster football, like, but with Dublin. But I mean, it must have become quite dispiriting quite quickly. Or do you just write it off? Just forget about it from the start of the year?
Do you know what? It's funny. It feels a little bit less dispiriting than Dublin's run from 2010, 2011.
You were saying that earlier, yeah.
Why do people not? Why? That's exactly, and even on an All-Ireland level, I never feel people got as disillusioned with the whole thing when Kilkenny were doing what they were doing. It was always kind of more this incredible team, incredible manager, incredible everything else. With Dublin,
I mean, a chance. Except for maybe 06, 07, 08, maybe, other than that.
We were talking about this in the Hurling Pod about how Kilkenny were perceived this week, and so we were asking Paul Murphy about it. And the only time that it seemed that the public were in any way against Kilkenny was when the moniker started to come at the end of their great team that they were being a bit over physical in what they were doing. Around the time that they were playing Tipperary. Now, helped by the fact they had some classic finals. And that's not to take away Dublin and Mayo have had some remarkable matches during the period. But it was like people did seem to get sick of Dublin winning a lot quicker than they did Kilkenny. And also, this Limerick team that are currently there right now, it's only starting to turn on them after about 5 years of remarkable success.
You always have to remember, though, that people hate Dublin. Like, as in, and around the country. And I mean that...
This is a national thing, it's the capital city.
I mean that outside of all of the arguments about natural advantages and unnatural advantages and, you know, negative football, whatever, all the things that come down, all of that is secondary to the fact that I remember my uncle was home from America one time for a wedding, and we were down in Clare and we were heading down to the pub, and Dublin were playing Tyrone. It was the O'Mulligan goal game.
The dummy goal,
right? So that was it was the replay, wasn't it? Yeah. And I'd been actually at Croke Park the week before for the first game. So we're walking down to the pub, and Uncle Tony's all excited. He's like, "Do you know, I hope Dublin win today. This is the hated Tyrone team. Dominant. Dublin were nowhere, hadn't done anything in ages." And he said, "I think everyone will be shouting for Dublin today." And I went, "You're absolutely mad." I said, "There won't be one person in here shouting." I swear to God, when Owen Mulligan scored, you may as well have been in the middle of Oma. The place erupted. You know, the roof came off the pub. And this is before Dublin won anything. So that's a very, very large... I've gone off on one here.
Can I give you a theory which is related to exactly what Mick is saying right now? Which is that because Kilkenny disappeared from the top table in the 90s, the great democratic era when you had Offaly and Wexford and Clare winning All-Irelands, and Kilkenny weren't winning as much as they had been in the decades previous, and particularly what they did in the dominant era, I don't think people minded Kilkenny too much when they exploded from 2000 on. And similarly, I think early Dublin people didn't have an issue with, because the argument and narrative always seemed to be they haven't won a Sam since 95. They've been the great underachievers, and you know everyone was winning Leinster up until about 2005. And those initial stages of Dublin doing well, and eventually the first couple of Sams, the resentment wasn't there. But then once the dominance started, people turned.
God, I don't know. I feel like I felt like it came pretty quickly. I'm not to turn this into a conversation about Dublin, Dublin's dominance, and how
You're
people
trying to
dislike
argue here now
Dublin.
that Kilkenny got off
But
a
it's
bit
like,
easily.
We were looking through the numbers there. Like Kilkenny again. If we're looking, I know everyone granted there's not a national interest necessarily in the Leinster Championship, but I think we were looking from 99 basically to 2011. They lost once. They lost one Leinster Championship.
You're essentially looking at Galway's introduction, the little Dublin spell, and that's about it that cost them at that time.
And it's just I don't know.
2004, wasn't it? The
Wexford.
Mick Jacob goal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that was it. And that was they'd never been beaten other than that in that entire time.
Which is just, I just don't remember, and I don't even remember. It's not like I'm fabricating or saying I was angry about it. I remember growing up, and you wanted them to win. I always kind of, I just never really liked Tipperary either, but you always you wanted them to kind of kick on and kind of, there was something much more alluring about something about them that I don't know what it was. It was just more like a...
This is like Kerry and Real Madrid too.
And like Man United and that type of thing.
I wanted them to win the 5 in a row in 2010. Now, a huge amount of it was them playing Tip in the final. But I was at that match, and there was any neutral there was shouting for Tip. Like there was definitely. I think people were done with Kilkenny. I'm not sure. I think there was a neutral I'd say I was the only neutral in the place that didn't want the and it was purely, if they were playing Galway or someone, I would have been 100% for Galway. You know, I think it was just. I think you're right in terms of vitriol and hatred, but I do think people wanted to see new faces at the top. Like,
I don't know. I didn't.
Go on. What's the next meaningful metric about their success?
We were looking through it. Regular contributor to the show, Eddie Brennan. Yeah. Just looking through him earlier, and again, I wanted to just go pick a player, and it's hard, like someone like say Shefflin with the freeze thrown in and kind of distorts everything. We were looking through his record in Leinster Championships. Again, from 2000 he was through till about 20. I don't think he played too much in 2011 when he finished, but 2010, and he's more or less there every year. I think there might have been 1 year where he wasn't as prominent, but looking through it again, and it's just his scores. It's not like it's how many. I'll throw it to you again. I'll throw it out to you again. Like his points tally in that time was 21 points, right?
Per game?
No, 21.
Oh, I was like, well, hold on
20
here.
points in total over the course of that
Just
time.
points.
Really?
Over the
Okay,
white
just
flags.
Just points.
Yeah.
21 points. How many goals do you reckon he got? So again, it's only two games a year.
In what, 10-year
championship period.
So from
21 points is pretty low, actually.
So he obviously
that's 2
favoured green
games a
flags
year.
then.
So about 20. That's about 20 games. It averages out. It's just about a point a game.
By 12 goals, maybe?
11.
11 goals, yeah.
No.
That's a ridiculous strike rate. Better than
The goals really puts into consideration when you're looking at. It's literally like
1 every 2 games is remarkable.
like over that span of time. Like that's absolutely outstanding. I hope he doesn't mind me saying it. I was talking to him earlier
He'll be on
about
next
that,
Monday, don't worry.
and I asked him how many goals he'd scored. He remembered them all, and he remembered where they fell in each year. So I think there was a bit of a lean spot around 05, 6, 7 or 4, 5, 6 where there wasn't thing, and it was everything from the 1, the 2 in that year, 3 that year, 1 again, and that brought to the point of why I was initially getting in touch with him. I was like, well, I'm fascinated from their point of view. When you're winning that regularly, does it still matter as much? By virtue of the fact you're still doing it, would suggest you're still taking it extremely seriously. But by the same token, God Almighty, he must have 10. He definitely has about 10 plus Leinster medals, maybe 10 or 11 Leinster medals. And he was saying that from Cody's point of view, huge emphasis was put on it every single time.
That's
every
interesting
single
because
year.
Taggy Fogarty brought that up too when he was asked actually about the handshake. And I'm not trying to bring us back in time to the handshake, but Taggy Fogarty was saying that one of the important elements is that since Galway have come into the Leinster Championship, Cody has seen Galway as a huge rival because they're a direct rival to win Leinster each year. And Taggy was saying that they spoke oftentimes about how important Leinster was. And that's even with round robins coming into Leinster, that's even with changes to the All-Ireland structure. Getting to the end of the year and lifting the O'Keefe is still really important for Kilkenny.
It's fascinating. Like it's just, and it's obviously for them always. It's just going to be a staging post for what they want. Like it's a means of getting to where you want.
It's a direct route to an All Ireland semi-final, but even that has changed a bit in recent years.
And I'm always wondering from your point of view, because I'm obviously coming in from the outside, and I'm obviously from Sligo, but links would have been to Limerick and Munster Championship. I always find the Leinster Championship slightly. Obviously, there's far less allure in how it's presented and built and everything else, and how it's dealt with. But I always kind of then assume by proxy that they probably don't take it as seriously either. But that's obviously nonsense.
No, it's still an important championship, and even now, like it's not comparing to the competitiveness of how close the Munster teams are together. But even going into this last weekend of the championship, there's still something on the line in every single game.
Yeah.
Where for Laois and Westmeath, staying up in the Leinster Championship is probably as important as the teams who are trying to qualify for the final. And then you've got Wexford just maybe on the last legs after what happened in Cusack Park last week, trying to get through to the All Ireland Championship, and Galway and Kilkenny, who would have expected start of the year to be in an All Ireland semi-final, and will want to do that through a provincial final.
There's an element in what you're saying that it's because Kilkenny are so dominant and have been. I mean, if you think most memorable Leinster final I can think of is Dublin and Galway in 2013, and Kilkenny weren't there at all, and that was huge. You can't tell me that was any more or less important than a Munster final. Likewise, when Wexford and Galway played, and 60,000 in Croke Park in 2017, and as Wexford brought this huge amount, and when Wexford won it a couple of years ago, you could there's no difference in that than and there's been dominations in Munster and very forgettable finals as well. But what happens is it just seems to be a little bit more competitive on a more regular basis, which I think grabs that allure. And it's probably competitive all the way down. You've nobody thought Clare were going to do anything this year, and now they're in a Munster final. That doesn't happen very often in Leinster.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I think as well when it comes to the Leinster Championship, the unfortunate part was the Daly year with Dublin in 13 didn't result in them winning a semi-final and get to an All-Ireland final. And similarly, Wexford came up short against Tipperary in 2019 when they won that flying summer under Davy Fitzgerald. So sometimes maybe we forget their Leinster achievement a little bit because
not enough
they weren't
care
at the ultimate
managers
dance.
going to Leinster, it sounds to me like that.
That's the key, isn't it?
They're the only ones that can break the Kilkenny dominance.
The last one I'm going to bring in. The last ones I'm going to bring in. These are the virtue of Mick here beside me. He's done the hard work for this one. This is a harder one to kind of say, ask you how many, but so I'll just lay this out for you, right? Since 1999,
Cody's first year.
Cody's first championship year, the rest of Leinster, including Galway since 2009, have produced 26 different All-Star winners. This is 7 slightly outside of Leinster, but just looking at the Leinster counties.
So Galway players are included.
Still looking at the Leinster counties. So rest of Leinster, 26 All-Star winners that's the individual hurlers. Kilkenny have produced 34.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
34 different hurlers have won All-Stars. Gets better. Like, when this kind of puts into thing, to be fair, like, and there's people, as you're saying earlier, like about Dahi Burke and Galway, like a few lads who've taken a good few.
Yeah.
The rest of Leinster in that time since 99 have won a combined 39 All-Star awards, right, spread across those 26 hurlers. Those 34 Kilkenny hurlers since 1999 have won a combined 109 All-Star awards.
Wow.
Have gone to Kilkenny.
109.
I know the funny part,
in Cody's time.
without wanting to create a quiz here, you probably could break down quite a few of those 39 of the others if you take Ollie Canning, Dahi Burke, who've won multiple.
Oh, yeah.
And
Well,
then
if you get Galway out of that, it's trouble.
It's Ollie Canning, Joe Canning, Dahi Burke and David Burke, you know.
They're probably combined for 20, I'd say, between them nearly.
Close enough to it, yeah. And then you have, like, I don't know, I think Liam Rush was the only other one with 2.
Rush, Lee Chin was the first time winner when he won it in 2019.
Yeah, I think,
so was
I think Rush was the only person that had 2 other than that now. I could be wrong, but and Pádraig Mannion has 2. I think that's it. Wow. So there you go.
I like there's enough to challenge that in Henry Shefflin's house alone.
Yeah, he has 11 of them. But that 109 thing just blew me away. Like, that's one manager has, in how many years are we saying? What's it, 20?
It's 24.
So this is the 24th season. So in 23 seasons, 109 All-Stars is
staggering.
Beyond belief.
So they're averaging a third of the All-Star team every year under Cody, essentially. I know there were some years where they were really dominant.
I think others they have none.
But by the same token, they've not. There was this year, wasn't it? The Limerick won the record for the most. So it's not like they've had, they've not won some obscene amount one year that's kind of pushing it over either. It's just consistent, bang, 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 every single year almost.
So I think 2007 was the previous record, the year that they beat Waterford, and the terrible decision was made to make the man of the match be Brian Cody.
Yeah.
Which still rankles with me.
It does.
That was a bit stupid, wasn't it?
It was.
I think that's also a measure of where that team was at dominance-wise, though. People didn't know how to deal with it.
Well, on the same day, I was like, they should have 15 All-Stars. We should forget about nobody else mattered in this championship except them. And then I'm giving out about a gimmicky award.
The aforementioned Eddie Brennan was very unlucky not to win the All-Star that day in 2007, but his manager won it instead. Just before we go to the break, the scores in the Premier League, they're just back underway for the second half. Crystal Palace 2, Everton 0. Burnley are 1-0 up against Aston Villa. That could be crucial. Ashley Barnes with the goal there just before half-time. And the other game, which is at half-time, it's 1-1 between Chelsea and Leicester. Chelsea got an equaliser from Mikel Alonso just before half-time, and Shamrock Rovers continue to lead by 3-0 away to UCD. We'll be back in a moment.
Meaningful metrics on Off the Ball.
In partnership with Whoop, the personalised digital fitness and health coach that helps you unlock your inner potential. See whoop.com for more.